Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. By the way, I went live last Tuesday. I'm pretty sure I said that it was Thursday on Tuesday. You can tell what kind of week last week was. So good to be back. I wanted to jump in today, and so I run a couple of different groups. I run three different groups and had this topic come up in two of them recently, which is how to deal with bad member behavior. So I have a group going right now for our last cohort of the Coworking Startup School. New group starting the first week in March, by the way, if you're working on starting your own co-working space. Make sure you check the link underneath this video to get notified when that new group opens. And then I run Community Manager University, and we do monthly calls. And of course, the community managers have a lot of conversation around member behavior. So this came up in both groups, so I thought I would just address it with all of you. So first of all, if you already run a space, you know this. If you're new to running a space, bad member behavior is not super common. So with my co-working startup school, I think I had them a little bit nervous this morning, worried that they were going to have lots of unruly members that they wouldn't enjoy having in the space. That's generally not the case. So most of your members, 90% of them, will kind of play along and act how you want them to act, really respectfully, and be great community members. And 10% of your folks will be a little less self-aware than everybody else. And here are the kinds of things that people do when we talk about bad member behavior. I'm sure there are real outliers, and we're not going to talk about that here, after hours behavior, etc. But the things that happen most commonly are people staying in the conference rooms for way too long, overusing the time that going over the time that they've scheduled, talking too loudly in the open space, and not buying day passes for their guests. So these are the things that can happen generally, not harassing behavior, not anything to be embarrassed about, but pretty typical, but can be annoying, right? And you want to treat everybody consistently. So you want your members to play along with the rules. So how do you handle bad member behavior? So first of all, set clear expectations. So have a process, have as much documentation as you can, so you can include some of the expectations in the agreement that they sign. Not your legal agreement, but oftentimes people will have an extra page of member norms, things that are expected of folks that are in the community, like put your own dishes in the dishwasher, don't overstay your time in the conference room. What else? Just be considerate, be a good member. Those types of things you can put in the member norms, but also have an in-person discussion if you can during your onboarding process. So when you bring on new members, have a one-on-one meeting with them, get to know them, but also just be really clear and direct about how things work here. So very explicitly tell them, hey, look, if you need a conference room, you need to reserve it. There's no squatting in conference room space. And if you go over your time, we are going to charge you for it if somebody else doesn't need it. And if somebody else needs it, you need to get out exactly when your reservation is over. So that's one of the challenges folks have, right? Is people not really understanding the norms of how conference room reservation works, and the idea that you can't go in 15 minutes early because somebody else might have it. You can't stay 15 minutes late because someone might have it. And of course, there's technology today that helps with that process. So platforms like Office R&D and YardyCube will sync calendars to conference room reservation systems to iPad displays or tablet displays that you can put in your conference rooms, both internally and externally, so that it's very clear to everyone what the schedule is. So sometimes you can use technology to help with that. And so be clear about what the rules are so that people know. Make sure you communicate that during an onboarding process, and be consistent. So don't let some members have bad behavior because they're your favorite members. Make sure you make everyone follow the same rules, and be clear and direct when folks are not following the rules. And this can be challenging if it's not your personality. It's definitely mine. But train your team to be that way. Give them permission to be clear and direct. Let them know that sometimes they're going to have to play a little bit of bad cop. And that's not to be rude or disrespectful, but to be simply clear and direct and objective. Make it just an objective approach. We're just following the rules, and we're making sure that the community is comfortable for everyone. So the other thing I would do is speak to someone directly who's breaking a rule, which can, again, just take some getting used to for your team if this is something your community manager has to do and isn't used to that. And then also send one-to-one emails. What I think does not work is, so we do this, we put signage up with, this is a quiet zone, and, indicators, reminders, put your dishes in the dishwasher. One, your members that are there often, that becomes white noise to them. They don't notice it, so it probably won't help. It also just probably doesn't help with the folks who aren't self-aware enough to do it in the first place. And it can be a little bit passive aggressive, right? If somebody's doing something wrong and you send a note to the entire membership asking everyone not to do this, it's probably not gonna help, or the people who aren't doing it will be annoyed that you aren't just addressing the person who's breaking the rule. So I would send a one-to-one email and let somebody know, hey, this is the expectation, this is how our community works, these are our guidelines, and you're, not following this aspect of it, and this is how, we need to respond. So a couple of other things, the not talking loudly. This also came up this morning. I was reading the transition notes. We have two community managers. One does the morning opening shift, and she sent a note and said it was already really busy in the space, and she said she had to do her international symbol for please quiet down because there were a lot of people on the phone in the open space. And I have to tell you, I don't actually know what the international symbol for please quiet down is. I'm guessing it's something like this. But she has it worked out, and I think she's found a tactful way to interact with the community, and she knows the community well enough that they know she's not being, a jerk or being a pain, but she's just trying to look out for everybody's best interests. So encourage your community managers to find that symbol that works for them. Another challenge that folks have is guests not buying day passes. So somebody bringing a guest in and letting them stay all day without paying to work. Now, if somebody's in an office, our policy is that's fine. They can stay in an office all day, or if they've rented a meeting room, we don't care who's in the meeting room. But if somebody comes in as in the open space, this happens a lot when we have like a team of folks and they'll let an extra person in from the team who doesn't have a membership, and they'll park and work all day. Now, we want to be supportive of the team, so we have a company day pass policy, and we do a slightly discounted rate for our members. So we are super polite but very direct. When someone has overstayed, we let them know that we're going to automatically charge their account for a day pass, and we're very consistent about that. So again, I think if you're direct and consistent, then folks will understand. And if you have somebody that has bad member behavior consistently and they don't like it when you point it out, then they may not be a fit for your space, and that's okay. We have to remember, stay firm with what we're trying to create and the environment that we want to support, and there are going to be folks that don't fit into that, and that's fine. We should not compromise on our standards to fit into a difficult member. So that's it. Like I said, look in the link below if you are just opening your space. Then the Coworking Startup School will launch the first week of March, and we address, this is a very detailed question that we happened to get into on our Q&A call this morning, but we cover mostly the framework for starting and launching a profitable space, but we get into things that people are worried about. Or if you have a community manager that you would like to support with the training and development platform, we do monthly community manager calls, and these types of topics come up, as well as lots of other meaty topics and content. So I'll stick those in the link below the video, and have a great rest of your week.